Ari, how you doing today, brother?
Living the dream, bro.
You're still in Austin. I know you you have a
Austin, Texas.
long history with that city of Austin, Texas.
It's my hometown. I was born and raised.
Talk to me about give us a little bit about who you are and what you've been up to over the last handful of years.
I am a father of 3 beautiful children, which is a huge part of my life. I'm a single dad at that,
Okay.
which has its challenges and its benefits, quite frankly. I have been navigating one of the most difficult real estate markets really in modern history, coming out of a global pandemic and then interest rates hiking 500 basis points in the quickest time period in modern history. Austin, which was probably the golden child of all development cities, has had a tempering of exuberance, for lack of a better term.
Right.
So, which has been a very, very, very challenging period. We have delivered millions of square feet of industrial master plan communities, houses, apartments, we own office buildings, redevelopments, rezoning, you name it. But there's been an excavation of the old Ari and, the new Ari that is the strategies that got me here aren't the strategies that are going to get me to the next place. And that goes emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, tactically. And so I've been doing an Ari audit of my thoughts, of my behaviors, of my triggers, of my health habits, of my parenting, basically any and everything, drawing everything up for questioning, for audit, for scrutiny, to enhance and improve, and which is admittedly wildly painful. The first line of my book, which is called The Gift of Failure, is I hope you fail. I hope you fail a lot. And at this point in my life, I think that's the only thing that I've gotten pretty good at is failing, because I've just done it so much in so many different areas. And what the characteristics that make a great founder, okay? And I don't know if I fall in that category or not, but in theory, a great founder, you look at their characteristics as a person. They have grit. They're resilient. They have a vision. They probably are like decathletes of business, and that they're pretty good at a lot of different things. All of those traits that would make a great founder make a terrible CEO. A CEO trains people. They don't do everything. They're patient. They build systems and processes. And so when you transition from, I started this business with a $3,500 loan. And now I guess if you build everything we own, including the hundreds of acres, all the land sites that are fully entitled, we probably need to raise maybe another 300 or 400 million of equity to build them, is probably about $10 billion of value. So that company that was me raising money, living in New York and investing with other operators to owner, operating, developing, becoming a vertically integrated institutional investment company, has been a revolution, for me, for me in general. And I work with so many brilliant people from so many different walks of life. And that's one of the great things about real estate, is that it's about people. It's a lot of people build houses, we build homes, and now with this new, fourth industrial revolution, we're about to start building data centers. We built industrial facilities, massive industrial facilities. But this is a point where just everything is caused into question, where, before I was looking for answers, and now I'm just trying to ask a better question. And I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's what the last few years have been about for me.
No, I definitely agree with you. And I tell this to people really often, that the skills that got you to where you are in business aren't necessarily the ones that'll get you to where you want to go. So I'm sort of dealing with that right now. Like, founded this company 12 years ago, and now we've grown to 50 million and 50 people. So it's like, all right, well, what is my role in this organization now? And it's not nearly the same as it was when there was 2 people in a basement, shipping orders.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. But, it takes a lot of different changes to the way you behave, and you have to be introspective about that and understand, hey, I have a role in this organization. The role is not to do everything for people, and that won't allow us to get to 100 million if you want to take the business that way.
You're right. That's exactly right. And reinventing your value system, what you see success as, what you see meaning as, where you see purpose as, like these things need to be excavated. I think, I know certainly for me, as I mentioned, that's a big part of this. And I think one of the things I look back on that, I say I wish I would have focused on, but the journey is the journey, and overcoming is the becoming, quite frankly. But it's not a very good strategy to do more. It's a better strategy to learn to delegate and take the time to build out a process and put people, machines, technology, tools in place to do it. It seems at the beginning like I need, and maybe there is a time for it. If I should do more, me. But, business is about we, winning at business, winning at sports, winning at anything longer term is team sports. It's not, it's not tennis. And even tennis isn't tennis, because if you look at all the people that go into, helping a singles match player win, but focusing on the process, focusing on building the team and taking the time to figure out who can do what, creating better if-then scenarios is a great exercise for young entrepreneurs in general. And it took me a while. I'm very much a late bloomer in life and in business. I think I've just been too stubborn to go home and just maybe spending more hours. But taking that time to figure out how to put very smart people in the right roles is certainly a much better use of time to serve your customers than stressing yourself out and trying to do more, because inevitably you're not going to do it as well as surrounding yourself by phenomenal people that have the right personality, the right skill set, the right focus to do a certain facet that, although you could do very well, you could find somebody extraordinary.
Yeah, I just finished this book, The Effective Executive, and really there's a couple of simple principles, but one of the primary things is you need to focus on outcomes. Like, as an executive of a company, like, don't focus on how much time you take or where your time is allocated, as much as like you need to get things done. And then you also need to focus on like, what are the things that I actually can get done? Like, I'm in a large organization now. Like, I need to focus on what outcomes I can actually drive for this company, not everything. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. They're like, I need to work harder. It's like, what outcomes are you actually driving? Even employees, I think they lose some of that.
That's great. You're totally right. And I've failed miserably at that so many different times in so many different ways. And, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And so bringing in people that understand that. Recently, we have another, gentleman joined the firm that is really skilled in operations. And I think, as a lifetime sales guy, I thought operations, I didn't appreciate the profundity of operations as a skill. Like, I thought, well, if you're driving sales or you're not, it shows you boneheaded. But seeing great operators and great tacticians and creating the right team meetings, the right getting everybody rowing in the right direction. Like Tim Cook, I was an English major in undergrad. I really have just studied great achievers my entire life, whether novelists, writers, business people, athletes. I've just always been interested in that from a very, very young age. And when you look at someone like Tim Cook, that's created trillions of dollars of value, 500x more than Steve Jobs ever could have, was incredibly good at getting, all the trains to arrive on time, didn't have a visionary bone in his body. Like, not to undermine Tim Cook, he probably does. He's just so brilliant in so many different ways, but he took this innovative, explosive supernova energy that was Steve Jobs, who basically imploded and is not here anymore, and was able to streamline that, organize it, systematize it, and make iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But the innovation necessarily, although yes, has been interesting, still an iPhone. and he just done 27 updates, 20, I think I just did iOS 27, recently, but that outcome focused growth has created the largest company by market cap in the history of mankind. And so back to your point of outcome, I think they've become incredibly good at thinking about outcomes, and just fucking getting it done.
Well, yeah, to your point though, like what got you here won't get you there. Like Tim Cook probably couldn't have started Apple, right? That just wasn't his thing. Like that's not what he was made for. I mean, I'm actually watching this documentary about Disney right now. And, Disney was the founder. He created this thing. He created this environment around it. But once he passed away, there was a lot of panic. And eventually, like some people who understood not only how to be creative, but how to be like business people, they took Disney, far and beyond where the original Disney.
Have you heard of the Founders Podcast?
Yeah, of course.
So he did the second episode he ever did was on Walt Disney. And it is just, by the way, if anybody hasn't listened to Founders Podcast, it's fucking incredible. Basically, one guy reads a great biography or autobiography of some notable person in history and just dictates it, like just tells like it in an hour, like explains the book. And it's so efficient and so freaking good. I enjoy it myself personally. I think there's like 400 fucking episodes now.
Oh yeah.
But the one on Walt Disney is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome.
He's a maniac too, because he'll read one biography, do an episode, and then like 200 episodes later, he's like, I read a different biography. I'm going to do another episode. And then like another 100 episodes later, he'll be like, I went back to the original Disney, read it again, and I'm now going to do a revisit.
Yeah. Well, you never step in the same river twice. It's not the same river. That's and you're not the same man. That's or whatever cliched it is. But going back in there, it's just a cool way to absorb like these great principles from them. I think one of the things about Walt Disney, because you brought it up, that I loved was that, Disney was I think he explained that he was so entrenched in his own ideas that didn't have time for real personal relationships, that the only time he ever spent time with them is when he surfaced to execute something that he was wanting to execute, whether that was, Mickey Mouse, whether that was Snow White, which were seminal, achievements at the time. I think Snow White destroyed every box office ticket sale and people didn't think anybody would go see a cartoon. Boy, were they wrong. So
yeah. Okay, so you said a $3,500 loan to tens of billions of dollars in value, at least billions. Talk to me a little bit about like how you get from here to there. That seems like a long road to traverse. I'm sure it was a lot of specific deals and time horizons and changes in the way that you did it. It's like, oh, I used to just buy houses or try to flip them, and now I'm doing something so much different. So maybe just give me like a rundown of like how you got from here to here.
Yeah, I don't, even thinking about it, like, which I try not to very often, is I'm not entirely sure is really the answer. There's been so much serendipity and so much grace and so many people that came out of the woodworks and so many things that just should not have fucking worked that did. And so logically recounting it almost does a disservice to, I can tell you in a nutshell, I was in New York City and I worked for one of the most decorated real estate financiers in history who invested in my first big business, which is an entertainment company that ice storm destroyed, and then Legionnaire's disease broke out the Playboy Mansion, screwed that one up. But long story made it long. I knew a bunch of great real estate operators, just because of the circles that I was running in because of my boss, my partner. So I figured maybe if I raise money, from, doctors and lawyers kind of thing, 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, I could invest alongside these operators. And so that's what I did. I'm an attorney by trade, or a recovering attorney, I should say. Attorneys are trained to think everything goes wrong. Entrepreneurs trained to think things are going to go right. So you kind of have those two people living in your head at any given moment. So I formed an LLC and did my Blue Sky filings and did the Reg D, looked up some compliance stuff and raised money in these little LLCs and started to investing in all these different projects. And, in pretty short order, we'd invested in 38 cities, 13 states, and 7 different asset classes, smaller, but my 200 grand, 500 grand, $1 million, depending on what. And then they all started selling. And when they all started selling, Austin was, was right at the beginning of, just really merging. And so went back to the investor base, created new structures and said, look, we should buy a bunch of land here. We should buy these apartment complexes. And, a broke clock is right twice a day. And, we got to be pretty damn right about a lot of stuff that I think we were pretty lucky. And, in hindsight, some didn't work out. That's life. But the ones that did worked out in a pretty profound way, like buying, 318 acres just south of Austin, and one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, and, re-entitling and rezoning a farm to build a massive master plan community, 60 acres of green space, new elementary school, 1,400 apartments, 1,000 single family homes. And really going through that process of meeting with the city and, all the lobbying and getting that together. And this year, the elementary school opened, and it was pretty breathtaking to see what used to just be a farm have a school with kids. And I mean, just, for, like I said, I'm a nobody from nowhere. I don't have any special talents. I'm not really particularly good at anything. Barely got out of high school, went through 2 community colleges, had a horrible speech impediment. Growing up, and, but I think, but just keep going, like continuing to keep go and keep moving and keeping inertia and a genuine desire to, like, I'm not like a money worshiper. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to eat, I've been rich, I've been poor, I'm going to eat the same fucking cheeseburger. But doing something, it's really tangible, doing something that I know is going to create value for our investors. It's going to have a great end product. It's been a really big driving force. And when you watch a piece of land turn into a 600,000 square foot industrial facility that, to build a Tesla, the companies have to go through your building, and, watching those logistics and seeing houses become homes and families come in and out of them, and building huge office buildings. And, like, there's just something really magical that happens. Like, there's an alchemy to that type of building, and, watching, people be able to get ready for retirement, and serving firefighters and large public pension plans. And there's just this really intoxicating feeling that goes with that level of contribution and that level of servitude that, that keeps me going.
Sounds like you had a pretty strong conviction about the city of Austin. You
I did.
made some profits from
I did.
these early deals that you were kind of, joining on with the individual you knew who was kind of a storied real estate investor. What made you so convinced about the city of Austin?
One is, have you been to Austin?
Yeah, a handful of times.
Yeah, Austin's beautiful.
Fun town, for sure.
To begin with, Austin is, people go places and stay places where they have fun. Okay. Austin is such a young, vibrant culture. And first of all, it's not in Texas, if you know what I mean. Texas is absolutely booming beyond belief for all the business reasons. The geography is centrally located, fair weather climate, all these reasons. But Austin is like this oasis, literally, in Texas, with beautiful hills. It's built on lakes, and there's trees, and there's all sorts of different kinds of people. It's super diverse. It's one of the most, like, diverse and largest universities in America,
right,
with UT. And it's, widely considered the music capital of the world. And it happens to be home, where I was born and raised.
Right.
And when you looked at the city and you see the people that were moving in, and you took a step back, you're like, wow, like, this place is fucking beautiful, and people are moving to Texas. And if I had a choice, between, if I'm coming from California or New York, and I picked between Houston and Austin, I'd go to Austin, for so many, for the food trucks and the culture and the vibrancy and the youth. And it's one of the leading, areas for comedy in the United States. It's one of the top comedy centers in the United States. And I say all of that to where there was a vibrancy about what was happening. Google was announcing building their second largest office in the world. Facebook was building their second largest office in the world. And it just seemed like there was this electrification of what was happening in Texas and in this area. And if you looked at the population, there was about 400 people a day moving here.
Okay.
And as all that started to happen, as I said, it seemed like it was a special place. And we thought, with just the sheer population growth, and being home and having local relationships, all the way up to the highest levels of government, that we could do something very meaningful to shape what the outcome was going to be, and that's exactly what we did. We started to buy large swaths of land. We started to buy old apartment complexes in great areas that needed to be reimagined and renovated. And we started building. And as I said, that momentum got behind us. It started to take on a life of its own and do some really good work for a lot of people. And then a global pandemic hit and the world shut down, and that was painful. And then interest rates spiked 500 basis points.
Not good for the real estate and development world.
And then tariffs hit, and then global logistic pricing shifts came on construction. And we fundamentally have gone into one of the worst real estate markets in the history of the United States. Even worse than 2008. And that's when the pressure came. And that's when the problems came. And what I wasn't entirely prepared for is that those problems were the gifts that we grew from. And I wasn't prepared for all of the challenges that brought, not only to the deals, to the investments, to the capital stack, to lenders, to investors, project timelines. But we persisted because we believed what we were doing was meaningful, and we still completed millions of square feet. We still completed our zoning, our entitlement, changing use cases, doing massive horizontal level development to bring in water and finish up lots for single family development, and did some very, very gratifying work. And as now we get to the tail end of the inevitable cycle, positioning thousands of apartment by right, development feasibility, getting ready for this next new stage of growth has been interesting. So in the 11 years that we formed, we've had 6 of the most difficult years that have challenged just about everything. So being very nimble, being very, very aggressive, being and looking at things through different lenses constantly has been an incredible challenge. It's been incredibly gratifying, albeit extremely annoying.
So I always ask real estate people this question, like, why real estate as an investment vehicle? Is it just your personal preference? Is it the best investment vehicle? Do you feel like there are other vehicles out there, but they have certain challenges or there are unique benefits to real estate, and that's why you lean into it? I mean, you're a smart guy. You can invest. You were in New York City, right? You could have went to Wall Street and done a variety of different things. Like, why is real estate the medium that you chose and have chosen to stick with?
Well, real estate was my proximity to power personally. So just because of how the cookie crumbled, the people that I was in the room with, they were at the top of the world and still are. And so proximity has power in whatever you do. It's, if you look at, Michael Jordan is a basketball player. Michael Jordan, if his brother was a little bit taller, you'd never have heard of Michael Jordan. He says it all the time. And so that's what he was playing with. So he got basketball because his brother was playing. So there's something to be said about, Kobe Bryant's dad was a, professional basketball player. He spoke 6 different languages because his dad played in Europe and they traveled all around, and then he played basketball. So there's something to be said about that's where I was. And I saw the benefits of it at a high level. And those are the relationships that I de facto formed, and I went into it. In hindsight, real estate is everything. Like this podcast, although digital, you're in a building right now, and you're talking to me. The cloud lives in a Rastegar building. It's a server in an industrial facility somewhere, and so there's a foundational element until you can digitize me, which they probably will be able to do. But even with this metaverse, you put a mask on, you're somewhere. That somewhere is real estate. So no matter what you are doing in technology, or if you have rocket ships launching, air rights are technically real estate. Oil and gas underground is real estate. The law governs real estate. Rocket takes off from a launch pad, that is real estate. So everything we do as physical beings in this 3D world has an underpinning to real estate. You have to live somewhere, work somewhere, eat somewhere, go somewhere for fun. And so if you can figure out how those mechanics work at a very high level, your interests can naturally propagate and stem out of that brick and mortar into something fundamentally different. But understanding that from a legal standpoint, putting my law hat on and all the different rights and covenants, that go into that, the relationships around it, understanding how it's built, operated. Then you can plug in technologies or logistics or anything that infrastructure, data centers, which we're starting to build massive data centers. One site we're working on right now could be bigger than the Gigafactory. And this insatiable demand that'll be needed for AI chip manufacturing, which isn't a piece of real estate, which isn't a factory, like it's all. And so, and to you said something about the best investment. By definition, there is no best investment. The best investors in the world understand something called asset allocation. Okay. And asset allocation effectively is investing in a series of buckets, call it 8 different buckets, 3 different buckets. It's an inherent level of diversification. And if you're really smart, you'll make sure they are uncorrelated, which means like if you invest in stocks go up, bonds usually go down. If bonds go up, stocks go down. So in a perfect world, I would recommend reading Principles by Ray Dalio, or read Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, who interviewed 50 of the smartest investors in the world and wrote down what they said in classic Tony Robbins style. I love Tony. He's a national treasure. And so the best investment is a series of buckets that are uncorrelated. Can real estate have a meaningful part of that? Absolutely. But any singular investment is by design the worst investment.
I gotcha. So have you then fundamentally said like, okay, we've got a lot of eggs in this real estate bucket and basket, and we had a tough time during COVID. Like, shoot, I need to diversify, right? Because there's the other theory of like, hey, I have insider information that this thing, right? If you knew Bitcoin was going to go from $6 to 100,000, like, don't buy a single family house, dude. Like, keep buying Bitcoin. What's your philosophy there?
Well, what we do in our day job is different than investing.
Okay.
Investing, I mean, I could argue my time is an investment and whatever, but when I think of investing, I think about money, capital as an employee. And I ask it, what have you done for me today? And so my business, Rastegar Capital, as it is now, which will continue to evolve in other asset classes, is the short answer. By definition, just because as you get bigger and bigger, you go from building this, then you have a construction company, then you go into lumber, and then you go down this daisy chain that it takes, and you end up owning a bunch of stuff. You plug in prop tech, you start putting chips in your light bulbs, you put solar panels up, and you go into energy. So there is a natural iteration where it will grow beyond the asset class of real estate naturally. But this is my life work. And this is in the thing that we are building that I spend my time, my energy to, albeit in this one field, is where you get subject matter expertise to do your manual labor. I look at investing as something that you do once you've built up enough employees, call it dollars. Charlie Munger used to say making the first $100,000 is the most difficult, and then compound interest through those allocation buckets will then do the work for you. Time will do the work for you. Wealth has grown in decades, not in days. And by design, it should be into those things. So I'm in the very beginning of the harvest season of my career. I'm a 43-year-old CEO. I spent the last 20 years getting through undergraduate, getting through my master's program, getting through law school, building some specialized knowledge to build this thing. And that was the mission. And so the mission will continue to evolve, will continue to expand. But up until this point, this is what I set out to do. And, spending 10,000 hours or whatever methodology you want to use. But I set out to attempt to build a firm that was expert, a best in class in a singular field. And I think that's what I don't know if we've done it, but we're trying to. We're valiantly trying. And once we have a team and a system and a process that has done that and can repeat it with that level of experience and that level of outcome-driven focus, then we'll find something new to be curious about.
So do you have ultimate goals as to where you would like to see this company go? I mean, you seem like a driven guy. There has to be some sort of a goal that we've gotten to 10 billion assets under management. We like to get to 50. We want to get to 100. Have you thought through that? Or is your priority just be the best at this thing that we possibly can be and bring value to others around us?
Yeah, I think the second part. I think that I'd like to continue to create more and more value. There's a Japanese principle called Kaizen, which I'm sure you've heard. It means constant, never-ending
Mm,
improvement. I'm out to build a meaningful life. Success is a science. You can lay certain things out and, um, but there's a point where business for me is a mission, and that mission is never ending. It's this is why I'm alive.
mhm,
This is who I am, and my business is an extension of me.
mhm,
And so there's no limit to what that is, as long as we are contributing and we're growing and we're serving and we're staying curious. And if we can serve more people, if we can do it with more efficiency, with more productivity, and we can grow as people, as a team, as a company, and we can adhere to the old maxim, innovate or die.
mhm,
I would like to continue living. I would like to continue innovating, and I would like to continue staying insatiably hungry, um, to improve,
mhm.
and that inevitably will most likely result in trillions of dollars, but that will not be the goal. That would be a side effect.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard it said that business is just a personal growth endeavor masquerading as a capitalistic pursuit, right? And
I
that's
like
kind of
that.
how I feel. It's like,
I like it.
yeah,
I like
you
that.
have
I've never heard that before. I love
there you
that.
go. I mean, you can steal it.
Why don't you say it again? Say it one more
It's
time.
business is a personal growth endeavor masquerading as a capitalistic pursuit, right?
That
Because I'm
is
probably like you,
stunning.
like right now I'm working through a partner buyout, and it's a big project for me. We're going to the banks, we're raising money, we're doing this whole thing, and when I get to the point where I'm like, well, this sucks, gosh, I wish I didn't have to do this. Like, well, first, one, you signed up for this. Two, it's like this is exciting, dude. You've never done this before. Like, you're learning new things about business. Not only that, you're putting a worthy challenge in front of you that when you get to the end of it, hopefully in a successful manner.
Problems are the gifts we grow from, bud.
Absolutely. I mean, growth and comfort never found next to each other.
Yeah, comfort is so overrated.
Yeah, you maybe heard of this book or read this book, The Comfort Crisis.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Makes
you'd
sense.
probably love it, man. This guy, he goes on a winter hunting expedition to, I think he's in like the way northern region of Alaska, like way north, with this like astound hunter, Donnie Vincent, and he writes this book about how all the things that have made us comfortable in modern life, like, were very foreign to someone who lived 3 or 5 or 800 years ago. Like, oh, I'm never cold. It's like that's not normal. Like, oh, I'm never sitting alone by myself with my thoughts. Like, that's not normal. Like, I'm never, outside for long periods of time. Like, all these things are very, like, I'm never, forced to move my body. It's like, dude, you had to like go hunt, go, pick food. Like, so all these things that make us comfortable are very foreign to our human body, and they're not really serving us. They're just kind of there as a byproduct of modern life. But so I know you talked about like your health and your family. Like, I think that people who hear that, they're like, yeah, but like, I want to be successful, dude. Like that, that's primary, goal number one. But it's the old,
Your health is mission critical,
oh
bro.
yeah,
Like there's
oh yeah,
no way I take health super, super, super fucking seriously. Like I take hundreds of supplements a day. I have a full-time age management
mm,
doctor. I'm in hyperbaric chambers, infrared lights, exercise. I mean, eh, eating, look, I like pizza too, bro, but I mean, sugar, I eat very little of
mm-hmm,
it. I have a nutrition plan that's 80% of the time I'm basically eating salmon, vegetables, and sweet potatoes from Costco.
mm-hmm,
I mean, that's, and again, I'm not a robot, and my kids like pizza. I like pizza, like you, but 80%
yep,
Pareto principle vibes is around that, because you can't build anything meaningful without
mm-hmm,
energy. Like it's like input output, and if you feel like shit, chances are you're going to act like shit. Feelings, how you put off as a leader, as a father, as a friend, like you really being in your heart. Like a lot of the work I've done with Dr. Joe Dispenza, if I don't know if y'all not know
oh yeah,
Dr.
yep,
Joe, but
heard of them, yep, mm,
yeah, give yourself the gift and go to a 7-day retreat.
mm,
I'm going to it. I did 5 or 6 of them last year. It's absolutely palatable beyond belief what can happen. I mean, the seeming miracles that I saw were just mind blowing, of what happens when you change your state, when you change your energy.
mm,
Um, you know, science is now the language of mysticism. We can measure heart rate variability. We can look at a heart scan and see anger, and then we can look and see gratitude. And if you're running a massive organization, I think it would benefit you to have the heart scan that says gratitude or says joy, because the stressful emotions, yes, having a certain amount of pressure and resistance training is different than distress. And there's a difference between, and I'm all for working my ass off. Anybody that knows me knows that. But the failures of the past of taking my health for granted was so unintelligent, because if I feel like shit, then cognitively I'm not making the best decisions. My emotions are all over the place, so I'm not communicating as effectively, and why would you want to not communicate effectively or talk with enough empathy or listen with clarity or have all of those, limited brain cells I have left actually firing and working together? Like, why would I, like, that's not an intelligent, like, that's not about just, oh, I love my health. It's, I want to be productive and I want to be efficient. And the better I feel, the harder I work, the better I work. And I found it as a direct benefit of managing my blood, managing my health regimen with the same level of vigor or more that I manage my investments and manage outside capital, has reaped benefits so far beyond anything fungible that it's not even comparable.
Are there specific interventions that you took that you felt like, wow, that was really impactful for me?
Yeah. One of them was getting a great multivitamin, taking a probiotic and a prebiotic.
All right.
Taking a food sensitivity test and figure out what I can actually eat and not eat, and not just saying. I mean, I was vegan for many years, and if you look at my blood type and you look at my actual food allergies, that doesn't fit for my biology. And maybe for some people it does. I know this one lady who, again, devout vegan and I'm not saying anything about vegans. Like, if you have a philosophical or spiritual or moral, God bless you. Like, this is, do anything that makes you happy. She was allergic to lettuce.
It's going to be tough to be a vegan.
Yeah. And so, like, my point is, and so I'm a B negative blood type, and B negative blood types thrive on more meat. Again, if I eat too much red meat, anybody eats too much red meat, there's cholesterol spikes. So there's a line, but not guessing, getting blood work. And then measuring it, and then testing it, and then getting blood work again, and then getting an age management doctor who's one of my best friends in the world. I would read his book. It's called Defy Aging by Dr. Jacob Rosenstein. It is the single best book on health and wellness ever written. He's one of my best friends. He's one of my clients. I wrote the introduction to the book. I talk about him in my book, The Gift of Failure. And he's very reasonable. He's in Dallas. I did, my testosterone was insanely low. That I take a testosterone supplement, and I know people are like, oh, testosterone treatment is, your hormones need to be in balance. I also take an estrogen blocker because, my estrogen, but the point is, your body is like it's like an orchestra. Violins and cello, all these different things happening, and you need a little more piano, a little less violin, a little more bit, and then, there's noise, and then there's music, and there's a way to do that scientifically. Through nutraceuticals, through eating, and in good, bad, or indifferent, most of the things that we eat. I'm sure there's some people that can do this better than me, but most of the stuff I was eating didn't have all the nutrients that were needed just from the food. So I supplement, and there's a lot, and I've gone down the rabbit hole on it because it's my hobby, not because it's needed. I can go to Costco and on $4 a day, eat damn near flawless, which I do. And then some vitamins and some other add-ons and hyperbaric chambers and energy charger machines and meditation and all sorts of stuff. But again, it's my hobby. But back to the point, if you can take a great multivitamin, a probiotic, a prebiotic, cut out sugar, which is bread, which is pasta, which is also watermelon. Sorry to break it to everybody. There's things you can do to dramatically enhance how you feel, how your body produces. But most importantly, You don't just guess that your finances are good. You measure them.
Yeah.
You check them.
Yeah.
You get experts to look at them. You recheck them.
Mhm.
You try stuff. And that's what I've done over the last decade. And as a 43-year-old CEO, I feel fucking fantastic. I wouldn't, you couldn't pay me $100 billion to be 25 again.
Do you feel like hyperbaric oxygen therapy was a big
Oh
lever?
man.
Because
Oh
I
man.
just heard Brian
Well,
Johnson talking about it, and he's like,
yeah. So
everything we did, he's like, nothing proved as meaningful and moving the needle as this.
well, let's talk about that for a second. I've done more hyperbaric sessions than maybe anybody. Let's say, I shouldn't say that. I've done a lot of hyperbaric chamber sessions, meaning I've did hundreds last year alone. My boy Eric Cortez in Dallas has done 3,500, and he's in his 40s and looks like he's in his 20s.
Jeez.
It's insane. One of my dear friends, and he facilitates it for me when I was in Dallas. There's some here in Austin too, but here's the thing about hyperbarics. Yes, it is absolutely phenomenal beyond belief with a few caveats. One is that if you don't have the base level nutrition, meaning the building blocks, because the hyperbaric oxygen through pressure, and by the way, the soft chambers don't do anything. The hard chambers are really where it's at, and above 2 atmospheres, and regulating and going up and down between 1.7 atmospheres to 3 atmospheres. It's this wave protocol that if you go to a clinic, they'll tell you. One is it's going to increase all this cellular growth, stem cells, all this other good stuff, angiogenesis. But that needs building blocks and materials to do all the good stuff. So if you have a base level of nutraceuticals, you have a base level of nutrition and those things in your body, and then you do hyperbarics, it's exponentially more valuable. Exponentially. Not even almost, it's not even, it's insane how much different it'll be when you're in that kind of shape. I've done it both times, when I wasn't in shape, and I've done it afterwards. The other thing is it only works in large doses in very close proximity, meaning the bare minimum to receive any type of semi-permanent benefits to hyperbaric is 40 sessions. 40 sessions is the lowest. And you need to really do 1 to 2 per day, on average 5 to 6 days a week. So that's a lot of time because it takes 15 minutes.
Basically daily for months.
Yes. And really all the real studies, if you read The Oxygen Revolution or you read Dr. Amen's work or go to the Amen clinics, it's really 80 sessions that you really see the exponential. I did, like I said, I think 200 last year. 200 in 2025 in extremely close proximity. Some were 2 90-minute sessions in the same day.
It's a lot of the day. I mean,
it is. But again, it's wildly beneficial, but just go, and it's expensive. So it is a luxury. So, but if you are going to do it, you need to say, I'm going to do 80 and I'm going to do it every day, maybe 6 days a week, 5 days a week, but 1 to 2 per day, 5 days a week minimum, let's say, ideally 6 days a week. You need 1 day off, they recommend, for oxygen toxicity and, a bunch of stuff. Has resounding intergalactic changes to your telomere length, to your biological age, your skin, to your hair, and a whole slew of other things, because it treats the entire body as a system. But having that one big caveat, in addition to being only in the hard chambers with pure oxygen, in addition to having your health, nutrition in order, is where the benefits are. Yes. And then it'll break the meter. It won't just move the needle. It'll break the meter.
Amazing. I know you got to kind of get to running here, but maybe just talk to me a little bit about being a father. What have you learned about life and about what's important through that? I'm working on making my first couple kids.
Yeah. God bless you, bro. Look, being an entrepreneur and being a father is not for the faint of heart. You miss a lot. I missed a lot. And it's, missing those once in a lifetime moments are tough, and each one of my kids has got a very different father. My oldest daughter, Victoria, her dad was a pretty crazy motherfucker. Kingston's dad, who's 10, he got a little bit better. And I'd like to believe my 6-year-old Isabella, she's getting the best of me, for sure. We had the daddy-daughter dance last week, and it was, I think I had more fun than she did. I had my face painted. It was insane. Well, the point is that, children give you an opportunity especially as an entrepreneur for me, to appreciate things that are seemingly small, that appear to be small. They're not, because the little things are the big things. But, playing dress up and, enjoying a little meal or watching a movie or playing with dolls or painting or talking or hearing stories from my 13-year-old about life or the end of the world or what could be the end of the world. And, learning all sorts of things through their eyes. I think about what Picasso said about Raphael. He said, look, it only took me 4 years to learn how to paint like Raphael, which is the one that looks like a picture, like a photo. Mm-hmm. And we all see the little baby that looks like a actual picture from 400 years ago. That's Raphael. He said, it took me 4 years to paint like Raphael, but a lifetime to paint like a child. And I've thought about that a lot in spending the time with my kids. Because I certainly learned more from them than they could ever learn from me. And it's almost as if life has a karmic way of letting you kind of do it again or feel it again or experience it again. Mm-hmm. But it is not for the faint of heart. I think running a business, building a big business is infinitely easier than being a father for a variety of reasons, but immensely gratifying. I have failed at it profoundly. And I think over time, just like anything, I hope to get better.
What have you done better from the oldest to the youngest? You said that's a completely different person.
Presence. Yeah. Presence.
Is that
just presence? Like not just presence. And yes, I spend a lot. I'm ridiculously close with all of my kids. But, sitting with one and my head being somewhere else, or my body was there. Mm-hmm. But I think with each one of them, finding inner sanctimony, refining my meditation practice in a way where I could be present in those moments has heightened dramatically from the oldest to the youngest, where even when I was there, sometimes I wasn't, if you know what I mean. And now when I'm there, I'm there.
Hell yeah. Ari, thank you, man. I know you got to buzz out, man, but I really appreciate it. And it sounds like you built like an amazing business and you got a very interesting perspective on life. And I think it sounds like it's came very full circle for you to kind of pick up the most important pieces.
Thank you, bro. I'm just getting warmed up. Got a lot to learn.
Yeah, man. What's next? So what's the project into the future for you?
Data centers.
Okay.
Data centers is the big focus for a variety of reasons, for all the components that go into it. That's where the need is right now. But data centers, we've built some great prototypes around master plan communities, around apartments, around office, around development, industrial. Data centers are now a huge mandate. We have a few sites we're looking at now to build some extraordinary stuff that will hopefully power the next wave of enhancing this human experience.
Yeah. How's the joke? Like they're using borrowed money to build data centers for GPU that's already sold out to like future computing that's already like, attributed to certain, models and things like that. So it's crazy, man. I mean, this AI thing is getting so much better, very rapidly.
Oh man. It's coming. And I'm one of those that's very optimistic, just as a student of history, that the good will outweigh the bad. There will be some pain, there will be some growth, there'll be some suffering, no question. Same as Great Depression, same during the wars, same during the Babylonian era, same as the invention of electricity, same as the .com era. Mm-hmm. And mind you, probably more heightened, probably more intense in certain ways. But I'm very, very, very optimistic about this expansion of both biological and machine-based consciousness and our ability to ask better questions of the universe, of our lives, of ourselves. And I couldn't be more excited.
I hope you're right. Thank you, brother.
I hope I'm right too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, man.
It sounded good one way or another.
Yeah. Appreciate you, brother. Have a great night.
Bye, bro.